Hi everybody, this is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy. Welcome to lesson number 108. Now that we've taught the student the basics of the R-controlled syllable type, we're going to teach them about some of the exceptions. Let's get started by setting up the table. You'll need your top 160 sight word list. And if you finish that list, you can move on to the top 290 word list, which you can find on the flyingcatacademy.com website. Go to the guided lessons section and look for the subpage called Extra Resources. You'll need the sight word study method instruction sheet for the teacher, the card pack for the student, some blank index cards, a highlighter, markers, and some pencils. For the phonemic awareness drill, you'll need the teacher instruction sheet and the colored tiles for the student. For the visual drill and auditory drill, you'll need the teacher instruction sheets and the card pack. We'll have a syllable card drill today, so you'll have to have those cut out and ready to go on the table. For the magnetic letter tile drills for reading and spelling, you'll need the teacher instruction sheets and the cookie sheet with the letters spread in a rainbow shape for the student. You'll need the syllable pounding instruction sheet, the new phoneme grapheme kinesthetic discovery sheet, and the sheets for the lesson. In addition, we'll be doing a review game that we did in the last lesson. So that's where you'll find those resources. And you'll need to cut out some cards for the new content part of the lesson. And finally, you might have a timer on the table. And you'll need the timer if you've introduced the fluency element to the lesson, which you should do at some point once the student has solid phonemic awareness and decoding skills. You'll need a secondary program to do this, such as Read Naturally or the 6-minute reading solution. Let's begin with the sight word study method. Student, could you take out your sight word card pack now? I'd like you to read through all the words in the cards. After you read a word correctly, put a check mark in the corner of the card. When you're finished with all the cards, hand the card pack to the teacher, and then it's your teacher's turn to read. Your teacher will read each of the cards, and student, you will write them down. Once you write a word correctly, use the other corner of the card and put a check mark. After you're finished with the task, have a quick discussion with your teacher about which of those words has been mastered. The mastered words will be removed from the card pack. This leaves space so that you can introduce a new sight word. Now it's time for the phonemic awareness drill. Student, you're going to need your colored tiles for this one. Your word is car. Can you repeat that word? I might say, I will drive the car. I'd like you to build the word car with your colored tiles. And then tap it and say it. Did you put down two colors and they're two different colors? If you did, that's right. Take a t and add t to the end of car. Now tap it, say it. Your new word is cart. I grabbed a shopping cart. Okay, find the R in cart. Change the R into or. Now what's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you say court? If you did, that's correct. Change the k in court to f. And what's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you say fort? Kids like to play in the fort. That's right. Okay, find the f in fort. Change the f into a p. And what's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you say port? If you did, that's right. Okay, find the or in port. Change the or into and what's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you say pert? If you did, that's correct. Okay, great job. You can put your tiles away. Let's do the visual drill. Student, what is the sound of this one? Did you say If you did, that's right. Teacher, do about 6 to 8 flashcards in this way. Let's do the auditory drill. Student, your sound is Can you repeat that sound? Now I'd like you to think of all the ways you know to write What are all the graphemes for Write them down and say as you do it. Once you're finished, underline the symbols and say again. And we'll check your work. Did you say IR can make er? That would be correct. UR is another way to make er. ER can do it. And then how about just R? Is another way to do that for R. Okay, great job. Teacher, do about 6 to 8 flashcards in this way. Do some syllable pounding. Student, can you say this word? Sportsmanship. When you are playing fair by the rules and you're happy when other people do well, they say that you have good sportsmanship skills. How many syllables are in the word sportsmanship? Let's count them. Sportsmanship. 3. How about this one? Passport. Did you say 2? If you did, that's right. Okay, student, I'd like you to take out your Scooping Syllables worksheet. And teacher, you've got an eye on the time so you'll know how many words can get completed. And teacher, you'll take out the answer sheet. Student, as you're working through the scooping of the different words, I'd like you to discuss your thinking. Time to practice adding suffixes to different types of bases of different syllable types. And we have 2 worksheets that are going to help us do this. Student, as you're working through the different word sums, I'd like you to discuss your thinking. Now we're going to practice ER, IR, and UR words. The difficulty with these ones is that they're spelled in these 3 different ways, but they're all making the same sound of So to practice which words are which, we're going to do a board game. And it's the same board game that we used in our last lesson. So this one, you'll use 1 die and grab a marker to use as your player. I usually just take a phonemic awareness tile and put it on the board. And you're going to roll and play. Your teacher will read a word, and student, your job is to spell it. Now let's move into the new content part of the lesson. And as always, we'll start with what we know. We've learned all the sounds of the R-controlled vowels. So what does AR make? What's the sound of AR? Did you say R as in car? If you did, that's right. And what is the sound of OR? Did you say or as in for? That is correct. And then there's only one other sound, and that is the sound that it's the same sound for all 3 of these guys. We have ER, IR, and UR. What sound do these guys make? Okay, so the most common sound in this syllable type is and now we're going to get into the new idea. There is, you know that when we do our syllable types, there's usually some type of exception, some unusual thing that seems to break the rules. And as it so often is the case, the reason that we have an exception here is because the way we speak changes over time, but our spelling never changes. So the way that, a word was created when it was first created is the way it's still spelled. But we change the way we speak. Often it's out of laziness when we go for an easier sound rather than do the hard sound. That's the proper sound. So in a multi-syllable word, a word that has more than 1 syllable, OR is often going to, instead of saying or, which we really should, it turns into And the same thing happens with AR. They all revert to this sound when they're in multi-syllable words. So say this word, doctor. I want to go to the doctor. Now, what sound are you hearing in the second syllable there? Doctor. Well, I hear but really it's spelled OR. Your teacher has some cards cut out on the table and ready to go for you, and you're going to read some multi-syllable words. And in the second syllable, be aware that it's going to say even though it might have an AR or an OR. You have to be ready for that one. So read through the words now, and if your teacher doesn't have it on the table, then I'll provide it here. The magnetic letter tile drill for reading. Student, your sound is D. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Your sound is aw. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Your sound is k. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. That's your first syllable. So read your first syllable. Did you read this one as doc? If you did, and you'd spell it D-O-C this time. Okay, now let's do syllable number 2 because this is a 2-syllable word. Can you say t? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Can you say Find the correct tile or tiles and pull them to the middle. Now tap and say the word and think about the word. Is this one of those exceptions that we looked at today? If it is, you can change the spelling. Did you say this word is doctor? And even though we say it as it's really doctor. So we'd have to spell it D-O-C-T-O-R. Okay, let's put those tiles away and get ready for a new word. Can you say ah? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Can you say k? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. That's your first syllable, so tap it and say it. Did you say that was ac? AC? If you did, that's right. Now here's your second syllable. Can you say t? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Can you say Now find the correct tile or tiles and pull them to the middle. Now tap and say the word. Because it's a multi-syllable word, your spidey senses are tingling. Ding, ding, ding. Is this really what I think it is? And make any changes that you need to make. Did you identify this one as one of the exceptions that we were dealing with today? So actor, even though we say that sound, it's really actor. And you would spell it A-C-T-O-R. Teacher, if you have time, you can do another word in this way. And if not, then have the student move on to the single word list. Then the student will read the short story, and then you'll teach the fluency element. Now let's do the magnetic letter tile drill for spelling. Student, you'll need your cookie sheet with your letters spread in a rainbow shape. Your word is dark. Can you repeat that word? The small child was afraid of the dark. What's the first sound that you hear in dark? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in dark? Find the correct tile or tiles and pull them to the middle. What's the last sound that you hear in dark? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Now tap it and say it. Did you spell dark D-A-R-K? If you did, that's right. Okay, put your tiles back and get ready for your next word. Your word is sculptor. Can you repeat that word? I made a man out of clay because I was a sculptor. All right, what's the first sound that you hear in sculptor? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in sculptor? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in sculptor? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in sculptor? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in sculptor? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. And what's the last sound that you hear in sculptor? Find the correct tile or tiles and pull them to the middle. Now tap and say the word. And think about, this is ding, ding, ding. It's a 2-syllable word, so your spidey senses are tingling. Make any changes that you need to make. Did you spell this one S-C-U-L-P-T-O-R? If you did, that's right. Okay, great job. You can put your tiles away, and I'd like you to take out a pencil and some lined paper. We're going to write some single words. Your word is torn. Can you repeat that word? I might say the paper was torn. I'd like you to tap out the sounds that you hear in torn, saying the sounds as you tap them. Then say the whole word and then write it down. And then we'll check your work. Did you spell torn T-O-R-N? If you did, that's right. Your word is farm. Can you repeat that word? The horse was on the farm. Tap it, say it, write it down. Did you spell farm F-A-R-M? If you did, that's right. Your next word is doctor. Can you say that word? When I'm ill, I go to the doctor. Okay, best thing to do is tap out the first syllable, say it, write it down, tap out the second syllable, say it, write it down. Did you spell this one D-O-C-T-O-R? If you did, that's right. And the last one is dollar. Can you repeat that word? 100 cents is a dollar. Tap it, say it, write it down. And this one is a multi-syllable word, so your spidey senses should be tingling. Make any changes you need to make. Did you spell this one D-O-L-L-A-R? If you did, that's right. Okay, it's time to write some complete sentences. Student, I would like you to listen while your teacher reads all 3 sentences. Then, student, you can choose the 2 that you would like to write. After a sentence is written, please check your work with CHOPS. Let's do a quick review before you go. I'm going to put the rule card for our controlled exceptions up on the screen here. And student, could you explain how our controlled exceptions work to your teacher? Did you explain that when we have multi-syllable words, that oftentimes AR and OR can become when we speak? And so we have to know that these are spelled differently, and they were originally said differently, but over time, in these larger words, we tend to mess around with the sounds of the vowels, and that creates problems when we spell. So we have to be aware that when we're dealing with multi-syllable words, that they're not always spelled the way that we say them. Okay, that is the end of lesson 108. This is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy.